Hello, welcome everybody. Nice to see you here. Do say hello in the comments. Let me know where you are and has anybody got their test soon? Hello, Sakib. Nice to see you. Hello, hello. Hello, Kajipan. Hi, Mina. Welcome. So my name is Jo from SLC. So we have a, a little bit of time for questions. So any questions that you have, please type your questions into the comments and I will try and answer as many as I can. So do write your questions in the comments. Just while we're waiting for some questions to come on, do make sure you're following us on social media. OET SLC is our YouTube channel. We've got loads of great videos there, new ones coming up all the time. So do keep an eye out. We've also got OET preparation courses. So for all your OET preparation needs, please do visit our website, specialistlanguagecourses.com. We've got an amazing preparation course that you can buy subscription packages for. So depending on how long you want, you can subscribe for 1 month or 3 months, and then you can add on extra months if you want to. So please do go and check out our Reach OETB. Go to our website. It has got a comprehensive introduction to all 4 of the papers. It also, you'll learn language needed, you'll learn the skills and strategies needed. There's lots of tips and videos, tutorials on there as well. There's a grammar section as well. So if you've got grammar to improve, you can choose the parts that you need to. It really, really is fantastic. So do go and check us out. There's over 100 hours of self-study content on there, so it's really, really good. So you can buy subscription packages or perhaps in combination with one-to-one tuition as well. That's also a possibility. Okie dokie. So great. Hi everybody. Hi Priyanka, nice to see you here. Hello. Hi Kushani. Hi Jinsi, how are you? Hi Sashi. Great. Hi, Ethel. Great. Thanks all for joining me. I see there's some questions coming in to the comments here. So please do, if you have a question, write your question for me into the comments. Okie dokie. So let's take the first question. So I've got a question from Sashi. How will the speaking module be assessed as there are 2 role plays? Good question. So for the speaking, you do the 2 role plays before you do a warm-up session. Now that's not section, that's not assessed. So the speaking, what they'll do is the 2 role plays happen and then it all gets sent to Australia for marking, just the audio, not the video. And what they'll do is they'll look at both role plays and they'll gather evidence of your communication skills from both role plays. And they'll be looking at the linguistic criteria, which is intelligibility, fluency, so the speed of your speech and the flow. Intelligibility is your pronunciation. They'll be looking at appropriate use of language, so making sure that you're not using too technical terms with the patient, that you're using appropriate language. For example, if you need to give advice, are you using appropriate language for that? And also they will be looking at grammar and vocabulary as well. So that's the linguistic criteria. You've also got the clinical communication criteria. So this is relationship building. So, are you able to demonstrate empathy? Are you showing a respectful and attentive attitude? For example, do you mind if I ask you some questions about your pain? Or I understand it must be very difficult for you, or I appreciate that, for example. Also, so there's understanding, a relationship building, there's understanding and incorporating the patient's perspective. So that's, appreciating their concerns, noticing if they're a little bit anxious about something, picking up on that, exploring that, finding out what are they concerned about. You've then got organization, so signposting, etc., etc. So making sure your signposting changes in topics. Okay, I'd like to explain a bit about if that's okay. Do you mind if I talk about this now? And linking expressions and explanations, firstly, secondly, finally, or and another thing. You also might, yeah. You've then got information giving and information gathering. So that's making sure you're doing open to close questions, you're summarizing to check. And of course, we need to do chunking and checking. So at the end of each explanation, you're checking that they understand or inviting them to contribute their reactions and feelings. How do you feel about that? How does that sound? Find out if they need any more information. Do you have any questions about that? Would you like to ask me any more questions? Things like that. Demonstrating active listening as well. I see. Okay. So that's how you're assessed. It's a lot. We do have some videos on our website about the assessment criteria, which will explain in more detail what each of the criterion involves. So do go and check that out. It also goes through it on our digital course, Reach OETB. So do go to our website, check that out. And you can find the criteria on the OET website as well. Okay. All right. Okay, we've got lots of questions coming in here. So please do write your questions if you have one. Okay. Tips to improve reading A. Kajipan. Yeah. Reading A is not very, very difficult. What's difficult about it is the time pressure. You have 15 minutes to complete 20 questions. So, tips to improve reading A would be improve your skimming and scanning skills. So, you can practice scanning with anything. Do word searches, scan for high frequency words in medical texts, and review your strategy. Are you using the right strategies? So, remember, don't read the text in detail. What you want to do is you want to just skim read the text. So you're just looking what kind of information's in each text, what words are common. Are there lots of verbs with instructions? Are there lots of symptoms? The numerical information? What kind of information is in each text? So you want to spend about 2 minutes, maximum three, just having a look and skim reading. So you have an idea of what's in each one. Then you're going to do the matching task and do this quickly. It's probably the easiest task type, and there are many pieces of advice out there on forums saying do the matching task last. Don't do the matching task last. It's not recommended by me. It's not recommended by OET. Do the matching task first. One, because it's easy and you've got 7 valuable points. Imagine if you ran out of time and then you've lost those 7 points. So get those 7 points done. You can do it quickly within about 2 minutes. You don't have to actually look at the text in order to answer it. It's just asking you which text would contain the information, not find the information. So use your knowledge from the skimming of the text to just decide A, B, C, D, which text. If you need to look, have a quick check, but majority of them you should be able to do without looking. Then you go on to your short answer and sentence completion tasks. So here, very important, you need to go, 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 go. You don't have any time to waste. So it's what am I looking for? What are the keywords in the question that will help me locate the answer? Which text am I going to look in? Scan for those keywords, write the answer, move on. If you can't find the answer within about 30 seconds to 1 minute, then it's too long. Yeah. So 1 minute maximum. If you can't find it, move on. You can always come back to it later. What you don't want to do, I know it's a stressful situation and the pressure is, oh, I need this point. I need this point. But what you don't want to do is to spend 5 minutes looking for an answer that you might not find anyway. And then you run out of time for questions, 16 to 20, which could be really easy ones to find. So do have the confidence to move on if necessary. You can always go back if you want to. Okay. All right. So let's have and just practice skimming and scanning, okay? And I think if you're at the beginning of your OET preparation, don't expect to do it in 15 minutes first of all. I think the first couple of times you do practice, don't give yourself a time limit. I mean, time yourself to see how quickly you do it, but you can gradually reduce the time that you do it in. Okay. Okie dokie, we've got some more questions coming in. All right. Do. All right. We've got a question about from Mina. I don't know how I can understand the patient is known or unknown. Um, I'm assuming you're talking about writing there, Mina, or is it speaking you're talking about? Maybe about speaking. So you need to look at the for speaking. To know if you've met the patient before, look at the context. If it's in a hospital accident emergency, it's unlikely that you know the patient before. It will say in the context, for example, you are visiting a patient or the doctor's asked you to speak to the patient, or maybe the patient has come back to see you. Yes, or he visited last week, he's now come back for his results. So use the context on the roll card to find out if you've met the patient before. Majority of the time you haven't, but use the context to decide. Okay. All right. Question from Priyanka. If we pass two modules, then later can we take only two modules? Unfortunately, most of the healthcare boards that accept OET, you have to do it all within one sitting. So you can't just book for listening and reading, for example, if you've already passed reading and speaking. Fortunately, you have to pay for the whole exam again. Do check out where you're planning to work. Each board will have its own criteria. For example, the UK for nursing does accept clubbing of results, but everything has to be minimum C plus. I think it's slightly different for medicine. There's no clubbing, and I think in other countries there might be different. So always check out the board that you're going to be registering with, what the requirements are there. But yeah, unfortunately, you can't sit individual modules. It has to be the whole thing. Okie dokie. All right, so let's have a little look at some more questions. Okie dokie. So, mm, 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 mm. Okay, Sakib, I have difficulty in Part C of reading. I can't hold and remember a lengthy text. Yeah, reading C is difficult. So, the concentration, you need to have immense concentration in order to be able to do that. You've done reading A, you've done reading B, now you're moving to reading C. You've already done listening. You're tired. I get it. So what you need to do is build up your stamina. It's like training for a marathon. You wouldn't just go and run a marathon without doing any training and slowly building up your stamina. It's the same thing for reading. So read as much as you can. Get used to reading longer texts, um, with a similar kind of language, unfamiliar topics, things like that. Just get used to reading them regularly and sort of analyzing them for main ideas, attitude and opinion, and things like that. The website that I really like for that is theconversation.com healthcare. It's got some really good articles on there. They're a similar length to reading C. They don't have questions, but it will help with your reading skills. It will build your stamina so that you get used to those kinds of texts. And you can do loads of activities with it. You can underline 10 new words, develop your vocabulary, underline language for opinion, a common refrain was, or researchers have suggested that. Yeah. And language for attitude, so adjectives like it's interesting, interestingly, adverbs as well, curiously, surprisingly, any confusing, frustrating, anything that indicates the writer's opinion or someone else mentioned in the text. The other thing you can do is take it paragraph by paragraph and summarize the main idea. What is this paragraph doing? What's the main idea of it? What's the viewpoint presented in it? So, reading C is not just about doing practice tests, it's to developing the skills you need for reading C by using other resources available to you. So, I know the temptation is just to practice, 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 practice. Yes, it's an important part of preparation, but you need to also develop your skills, and you do that by using other resources. So, it's both things. Similarly, if you're running a marathon, the same thing. Yes, you're going to do practice times and practice races and things like that, but you're also just going to improve your general running by running loads. And you're probably also going to go to the gym to do strengthening exercises as well. It's the same thing with reading. So, it's not just about doing races, it's also about doing the training in between. Okay. Um, all right. What's your advice for those who require a 400 score in all parts? Yeah. So some boards do require a higher score for some doctors for some courses. Um, it is tricky to get a 400. Um, the advice is aim high. Look at the criteria for writing and speaking and make sure you're achieving the highest of that. Yeah. So create a checklist. Are you achieving band 7? That's what you want to do. Make sure your level's high enough. Think about getting some tuition. Get feedback on your writing. So sometimes self-study isn't enough. You need to get some feedback. So do go and check out what we've got available on our courses and see if we can help you. It is tricky to do this all via self-study and with free materials. See if you can get some feedback. I think that could really help. All right, let's have a look. How Good question. How many times a day is good for practice? And please tell me how to improve a score in listening. Okay. Well, I mean, how long is a piece of string? I say as much practice as you can do. It depends how long you've got. Are you working at the moment? Are you not? When are you taking your test? If you're taking your test in 3 months' time, you've got like 12 weeks. Plan your time, create a study plan, think about what are your strengths and weaknesses. Focus on your weaknesses first. Make sure that you utilize all your self study time to the maximum. Okay, what you don't want to be doing is um or you want to be, you don't want to be, getting to yourself saying, oh, what should I do now? What should I'll just watch some videos. No, no, plan. Make sure that you're going through a whole paper, practice as much as possible. Yeah. Okay, dokie. Hello, hello, hello. All right. A question here: how to write a child's name in writing? If male patient, we are writing Mr. and for female, Mrs. or Ms. How to mention the child's name? Just use their first name. Henry, Emily. Yeah, you can just use their first name. If they're 16 or under, I think you can just use that. You can use Miss for a girl and Mr. for a boy. You can do that, but the child's name is more common to just use. Yeah. Okie dokie. All right. A question from Dr. Sajad Ahmad. How to navigate distractions in reading part C? Good question. Distractions in reading C, reading B, listening as well. Distractions are a real challenge. So, what you want to make sure for reading C is A, that you understand the question. Are there any key words in the question? Because, you know, there could be distractors. Maybe the options are mentioned, but they're not answering the question. So if you don't understand the question, it's going to be difficult to choose the right answer. So, number one, understand the question. Number two would be, you're not just looking for key words in the text. You're looking that the whole option and the whole meaning of the option is represented by the ideas presented in the text. So usually there's like two parts of the option. So make sure you know all of the parts of the option are mentioned in the text, not just one part. And if there's any standout words in the option, such as like new policy or interesting research, make sure those keywords are also suggested in the text as well. I think, read the question, make sure you understand, read the paragraph, break it down into simple ideas, and then go through, eliminate any obvious incorrect answers. You could do the yes, no, maybe strategy that I do with some of my students. So is it a yes, no, maybe? So if it's definitely no, cross it out, maybe, and then look at the two maybes, which one's answering the question, or which one has all of the option referenced into the text, in the text. Yeah. Okie dokie. I got a question, Dr. Neelam. I want to appear in OET for Australia. I have to clear all modules in one sitting. I believe so. You'll have to check where you're planning to work. That medical board should have the information somewhere about what they're accepting, but most medical ones, I believe, yes, you have to pass all of them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Question about levels. Intermediate level in English, is 1 month enough for preparation for OET? If I'm going to be completely honest, no, it's not. So the OET exam is a C1 level, and it takes about 300 hours of study to raise up a level. So really, you're talking about going from intermediate to upper intermediate to advanced. So you want at least 600 hours of study. What you really need to do if you've got an intermediate level is improve your general English and your nursing or medical English as much as you can. We've got some courses. We've got English for nursing course, English for doctors course, medical terminology. For those of you who's passed OET, that's also very useful. But what you want to improve is your general English and then start working towards OET, because the likelihood is you're only going to get so far with an intermediate level of English. So it is a C1 level test because it requires you to have that level of English. So the biggest advice I could give you if you're not high level of English yet is improve your English. And then they're just testing your level of English in a healthcare context. Okay. So yeah, if you're a beginner or you're new to OET, it would be a good idea to test your level of English or find out what it is. There are lots of free online checks on the Cambridge website. I think you can do that. Do have a little look. Um, Find out what level you are, and if you're lower than sort of upper intermediate level, a B2 level, then I'd recommend really working on your general English first. Okay. All right. Okie dokie. All right. So, got some questions. Yes, you have to take the whole of the OET exam. You can't take individual modules, unfortunately. All right. Got question about listening. So tips to improve your listening score. Uh, Similar to reading, you want to listen a lot. Okay, so improve your general listening skills. So you want to improve listening skills for listening A, so listening to consultations. So there's things like GP behind closed doors, that's on YouTube. You can watch extracts of that and just sort of listen out for keywords such as symptoms, medication, practice listening for specific information. For listening B and C, as much healthcare listening as possible. BBC Inside Health. That's available if you are in the UK, or I think it's available on Spotify if you have access for that. There's lots of medical podcasts available on Spotify. The BMJ podcast, that's available online. So, even just doing a web search for medical English podcast or medical podcasts or podcasts for doctors, podcasts for nursing, that's really going to get you used to listening to that kind of information. So improve your listening skills, do the training. Make sure you're using the right strategies for listening. Now, listening A is 24 points. That's more than 50% of the total marks. So the highest score you can get will take the pressure off for listenings B and C. So make sure you're utilizing that pre-listening time. It's only 30 seconds. So as soon as they say you hear a consultation between a doctor and a new patient, as soon as you hear that, you can start reading. Yeah. So read underline keywords as you're going to help you focus. You're sort of predicting as you're reading, was diagnosed with 6 months ago. The is medical condition. You're thinking about it as you're reading. Practice reading quickly within 30 seconds with listening A papers. Make sure you're listening out for the right words. Okay, so making sure you're listening out for links to what's already written on the notes. Remember, it's paraphrase. So developing your ability to paraphrase will help with that. You're listening out for signposting cues that the answer's coming up. And spelling is important. Develop your vocabulary for all the 12 professions and the medical specialisms, because the likelihood, that there's going to be words and phrases relating to them coming up, and you need to know how to spell them. You're expected to have a high level of spelling. And for listening B and C, again, it's all about the pre-listening time. Make sure you've read the questions and the options before you listen. Underlining keywords. Really, for listening C, focus on what are the questions asking you, so that you're aware of, what order the topics are going to be talked about. You're ready. You know the structure before you even listen. You've got the options. And again, listening out for signposting cues that the answer's coming up, or for presentations that it's moving on to the next question. Okay. So really, really do practice that. Okay. A question, I got 3 B's and a C plus for listening. What are the ways to increase it to B, and should I book the exam soon? Okay, Sandrika, good question. This happens quite a lot. So you're nearly there. And can I say congratulations for getting 3 B's and a C plus? So close. Must be very frustrating, I know. But I think that proves that you can do it. So think about perhaps, why did you get a C plus in listening? Evaluate perhaps what happened in the exam. Did you get lost? Did you miss loads of answers? Did you run out of time in the pre-listening? Did you panic? Think about what the possible reasons could be. Were you using the right strategies? And then, based on what you think, do some remedial work. Yeah, improve those things. Think about, do I have the vocabulary for listening A? Have I practiced extensive listening? Am I using the right strategies? And then, yeah, I mean, while everything's quite fresh in your head, do think about booking the exam soon. But once you feel confident that, you can just get that little bit up, but making sure that you're doing some work, time and time again. I come across students who they've taken the exam multiple times, but they've not done anything in between exams. They're just like, oh, I failed. I'll just take the exam again. And they hope that something's going to happen differently, but invariably it doesn't. So, do make sure you're doing something in between those exams. Really think about, where did you go wrong? What are your weaknesses? How can you do that? Okay. All right. I don't know about individual costs for OET in India, I'm afraid, Sashi. You'll have to look at the exam centers and things like that. Ruth, I struggle with the writing module. Yeah, it is difficult. I would say make sure the biggest thing you can do for writing, if possible, is get some feedback. Also, making sure that you're analyzing the case notes correctly. Always make sure you're understanding, who are you writing to, what's their role, what are you asking them to do, and then based on that, you select the relevant information. Always make sure, once you've selected the relevant information, you make some sort of plan, so you know what you're going to write in what order. Then all you need to think about is how to express that in a clear way. Okay. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. I have talked a little bit about reading, Jemima. So do maybe watch the video from the beginning. I've given some tips about reading and training. So please do check out our website. We have got 1 and 3 month subscription for our courses available, as well as one-to-one tuition. Do keep working hard. Remember, it is a challenge. It does require a lot of work. It does require a high level. Think of your motivation. Why are you taking the OET? What's your goal? Where do you want to be professionally? Where do you want to live and work? Think about that and use that as a motivating factor, because I do appreciate for some of you, it is a long road to taking the exam, but it's a road well worth taking. Okay. So I hope some of my advice has helped you and motivated some of you to get going with your OET study, or continue, or feel more confident for the exam if you've got it coming up. We're here. Please do comment on our YouTube videos and things like that. We're always reading them. Love to hear from you. And I'll be back next month with another Q&A. So I hope to see some of you there. And if you've got an exam coming up, best of luck. I'll be thinking of you. Take care, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye.